In all our lives, we have been trained from day one, and even more so in modern life, to take control, or to accept control, or to be under control. If there was one word to summarize modern day humanity, in my opinion, it would have to be control. We seek it everywhere. We build it all the time. We seek comfort in it. It is arguably one of our primary tools to aid survival. Yet control is only half the story. Whenever and wherever there is control, there must also be chaos. What if the universe exists in some sort of infinite swinging pendulum which aims to balance out control versus chaos? When one races too high, natural forces might cause it to fall, and then the other will quickly ensue, accelerating rapidly at first and then eventually running out of steam. Despite these natural forces, we convince ourselves that one is good, i.e. control, and the other is bad, i.e. chaos. Yet good and bad are often subjective. Control is often viewed as the hero. In the classic TV series Get Smart, which ran from the 1950s through the 60s or something like that, the organization which gathers control of, the organization which gathers together all of the villains is known as Chaos. The stars of the show, Smart, Agent 66 if I recall correctly, and his female accomplice, who I think was Agent 99, they must use their wits and intelligence, or lack thereof, to outsmart the villain of each episode. They belong to an organization working for good, known as Control. At the end of every episode, predictably as most stories are, Control wins and the day is saved. The evil genius plans of the chaos perpetrators are thwarted. And yet throughout the entirety of the series, we observe how ridiculous the people working for Control often are. 66 is often observed talking to his shoe phone, which seems convenient enough, but it's actually quite problematic. Occasionally, agents can be seen talking underneath a cone of silence, where everyone can hear what they are saying, but they themselves cannot hear each other speak. A symbolic scene occurs at the beginning and the ending of every episode, where Smart is observed to make his way through multiple layers of automatic doors, which are normally locked, but they open when he arrives. Ultimately, Smart is seen to be not very smart, yet he works faithfully for Control, and he obeys the directions given to him by Control. So these stories, and the world is filled with stories, allow us to reflect on the never-ending battle between Control and chaos. Some say that these forces have been around since the very beginning and will continue until the end. As stated earlier, we are convinced that control is what we need, that chaos is to be feared. Yet if we observe nature, observe our surroundings, observe our lives, and observe history, it's clear that without chaos, we would never advance. We should stop learning to fear chaos and instead start seeing clearly that chaos is just part of the natural rhythm of things. Fires bring death, but then allow new life to flourish. Pandemics bring change. However, it is clear to many of us that when we observe the current state of the world and wonder and wince at what we see, that the year 2020 started with some chaos, which quickly led to an absolute domination of planet-wide control. While many in the population appear to be perceiving what they see as incredible chaos, many of us are looking around and instead perceiving incredible control. Yet where there is more control, we know there will be more chaos. With this knowledge, we can foresee perhaps a vision of the future and know that some out there will continue to assert control, but in doing so, more chaos is going to ensue. Already we're beginning to hear stories of the economy falling apart, particularly in the US and UK, of countries getting into bickering arguments with other countries and other things that are quite chaotic and could lead to an extreme amount of chaos. But let us not fear what may come, for whatever will happen in time is what it is, and is ultimately perhaps part of the grand story. Let us observe the forces at play and observe where they are leading us as a species. Ultimately, these forces may lead us to a point where all of us can perceive ourselves clearly, at which point the control structure may end, and with it, chaos will also dissolve. Time itself may lose its energy, and physicality may move away from itself. If we ever do reach such a grand intersection, our imaginations may be the only limit. So that's just a little few thoughts that I had a few weeks ago after, I guess you could call them shower thoughts, when you just tune out and you just start thinking about other things. Those thoughts popped into my mind and I thought I'd better write them down, and that's what I wrote at the time. Some of it sounds funny reading it out now, but let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. Let me know your thoughts. Do you agree or disagree? How do you feel about control? Are you a very controlling person? Do you need to control everything all the time? Or are you very chaotic? Or do you have a bit of a balance? How does chaos affect you? Can you see a way of improving yourself in some way by perhaps balancing out control versus chaos? Are we all leaning too much in one direction?